Okay, sorry, now I had a recording problem. Apologies for that. This evening, we are delighted to be hosting a scholar from the Ukraine, Dr. Serhii Petrenko, who will be talking about English as a soft power, the Ukrainian perspective. But before he begins, I would like to read out his bio. Dr. Serhii Petrenko is an associate professor at the Department of Foreign Languages at Taras Shevchenko National University of Kiev. He has a PhD in linguistics, Germanic languages, and a master's degree in international law. He is editor of the TESOL Ukraine newsletter. He holds a Cambridge English Level 7 diploma in teaching English to speakers of other languages. He has organized and participated in multiple projects, conferences, trainings, and webinars over the course of his career. For example, the United Business Community Project 2022, Basics of E-Course Design 2021, Mevlana Academic Staff Mobility Program Instructor 2016, Critical Thinking for English Language Teaching, EFL Curriculum 2011, and since 2016, he has been presenting TESOL at international conventions in the United States. Dr. Petrenko has facilitated several British Council courses, such as developing teaching skills in ESP for university ESP teachers, and teaching in a new context for English teachers of grades 5 to 9. He has also taught English to the patrol police of the Ukraine. At his alma mater, he has been teaching ESP, EAP, and academic writing to students of political science, public administration, history, archival science, archaeology, philosophy, sociology, psychology, and military specialties. At the end of 2021, he was selected by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine to work as a diplomat in the Embassy of Ukraine to the state of Kuwait. But unfortunately, this position was cancelled because of the war in 2022. Welcome, Dr. Petrenko. We look forward to your presentation. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen. Is everything okay?
Yes.
Perfect. Good afternoon, distinguished guests and participants of my presentation on English as a soft power, Ukrainian perspective. I would like to thank the Embassy of Ukraine in Kuwait and also the American University of Kuwait for inviting me to draw attention to the fact that language is an important tool of public diplomacy or soft power. But I'm an English language teacher, but not the one who enjoys teaching systems such as pronunciation, vocabulary, grammar, discourse. I believe that helping students develop skills is more important so that they can freely express themselves, communicate, and find partnerships around the world. I'm not talking only about language skills, such as reading, listening, writing, and speaking, but also about soft skills or core skills, or another name is 21st century skills, like communication, collaboration, critical thinking, creativity, media literacy, digital literacy, resilience, flexibility, and many, many others. I don't want that it will be a boring presentation where only one person speaks, and I'd like you actively participate in the discussions and make the speech a bit more interactive. Now look at, and you can write in the chat what associations you have with this picture. Carefully look at details and write words or phrases that you can associate with that. What do you see and how you can associate with something? Think of this image as a conceptual metaphor. You can use the chat, or you can raise the hand or speak. Yeah, I see in the chat, the first one is global communication. Okay. Any other ideas? Global citizen or global citizenship. Thank you. Centralization, one world. Okay, unifying features. And I missed, it's a metaphor for metaphor. Wow. Okay, so thank you. As we can see in the center, there is a lighthouse, and everything and lighthouse directs everything. We see different planes, we see ships, cars, everything. So if we are talking about some kind of a metaphor, probably the lighthouse is the language, something that essential tool of soft power, and it can be viewed as something or a lighthouse that directs different nations, different cultures, finding ways of mutual understanding. So this is how I associate with that. This image was generated by artificial intelligence. I just wanted to create a metaphor to activate schemata. So as my topic is connected with language, so probably we need to find some kind of an object that can look and have some kind of ideas connecting with that kind of unifying, connecting, sharing, and something like that. Yeah, probably any other comments about that? Actually, you can look to this image from a different perspective. For example, the lighthouse is like a teacher, and all of these flying and moving objects are students, and the teacher is the person who directs their students. Actually, there are multiple things. That's I really like using conceptual metaphors in classes with my students as a warming up activity. Yeah, I see. Thank you. It also suggests diplomacy, right? In today's globalized world, the ability to communicate effectively in English is crucial for promoting cross-cultural understanding. My presentation will be primarily based on my experience working with students who study English for academic purposes or English for specific purposes, or I also facilitate the courses and a teacher trainer for English as a medium of instruction courses. These are the courses where the teachers, university teachers, plan to deliver their lectures on in their disciplines in English. It's like they want to convert the Ukrainian lectures in Ukrainian into English, and that's why we're helping to with some kind of methodology to help them create those kind of classes. The desirable outcomes for today's presentation are as follows. By the end of the presentation, I hope that the participants will be able to define soft power in the framework: hard power, soft power, sticky power, and smart power. Discuss the role that the language plays in public diplomacy, and finally design an action plan of your professional development using English as a global language. I see that the audience is primarily teachers, so I wrote, first of all, practical implications for Kuwaiti students, but then I add teachers because I thought that teachers will be the primary audience. So let's start with the first aspect, which is to define the meaning of the notion of soft power. International relations theorist Hadley Bull provides a generally accepted view of diplomacy as the conduct of relations between, the conduct of relations between states and other entities that exist in the political world by official agents and by peaceful means. This concept includes actors, the agents who conduct diplomacy, and the process, how and why it is conducted. Traditionally, international relations have been understood through the lens of hard power, which is military and economic might. However, in today's world, soft power, which is the nation's ability to influence others through its culture, values, foreign policy, is becoming increasingly important. That's why let's define some key concepts of diplomacy. Hard power involves using military force and economic sanctions to influence other countries, other nations. Soft power, in contrast, relies on cultural influence. That are values of the country and some kind of public diplomacy. Researchers associate this public diplomacy or soft power with tools used by states to understand culture, attitudes, and behavior, build and manage relationships, influence opinions, mobilize action to promote their interests and values. There are actually two more aspects of diplomacy. Scientists differentiate sticky power, which refers to economic strength that attracts and binds other nations, other countries, and smart power, which is a strategic combination of both hard, soft, and as well as sticky power. Now you can see like the general, we can also call it like a metaphor, because we see that effective public diplomacy, as proposed by Nye, is a two-way street that involves listening as well as talking. I highlighted the words listening and talking because these words are connected with language, with what English language or other language teachers do. They are trying to develop language skills, listening and speaking. And we have the like a metaphor of a street. Then, according to this quotation, we need to understand better what is going on in the minds of others and what values we share. So in this case, we have to define main pillars of soft power or public diplomacy. And these pillars are culture, values, and foreign policy. Cultural elements include art, music, literature, food, customs, traditions of the country or of the nation. Values show that the nation's commitment to democracy, human rights, and the rule of law, for example. And finally, the nation's foreign policy involves diplomacy, international cooperation, and also aid programs for those countries who need that. But where is the language? Because in this kind of definition, we see listening and speaking. That's why I put some question mark to the language. I prepared for you, as I mentioned before, some kind of interaction, and this interaction is Mentimeter. I hope that you know this tool. Okay, so you can use QR code, or I will just copy the link and put it in the chat. So that will be like quick. And the question for you is, name at least 3 roles that language plays in public diplomacy. Okay, I see the first responses are available, right? And I see also in the chat. Yeah, actually, you can write in the chat as well. So it's not a problem. Choosing words carefully to avoid conflicts. Okay. Just interested what kind of answers there could be. The role of the language in public diplomacy. Okay, several more seconds, and then we disclose the answers. Yeah, and I see also influence. Expression of sincerity. Okay, so what can we see here? We see communication, understanding, choice of words, right? Misunderstanding, like understanding, misunderstanding, negotiations, negotiate, bargaining, and delivering of ideas. Yeah, so actually these are the functions of language that easily can be used in public diplomacy, right? I see that communication is the most popular thing, and also understanding, misunderstanding. Maybe anybody has a comment and would like to say a couple of words. Why have you chosen these roles?
Yeah, Dr. Serhii, if you allow me.
Yeah, definitely.
I suppose if we started with the metaphor with the lighthouse that you showed us at the beginning of the presentation, so I would continue this flow with the metaphor, and I would dare to say that language is some kind of an oxygen for a diplomat, because without a language you cannot build strong alliances, you cannot even communicate, you cannot deliver your ideas or values. So language is an absolute must for a diplomat. And especially if we're talking about like countries as Kuwait, where we are actually working for the past 5 years. English, of course, is a must because 75% of Kuwaiti population is they are foreigners. But once it comes to interacting with Kuwaiti state officials, diplomats, even public figures, Arabic is a must. So Arabic language is our key to winning hearts and minds. That's why when it comes to language, it's important even to discuss what instruments do we possess to deliver our ideas. And sometimes, like English as an international language, we can use it in like official communications, like the diplomatic receptions, etc. Sometimes it's Arabic if we want to deliver our ideas and values to the people, to be for our voice, Ukrainian voice, to be heard and keep Ukraine and our issue and the information field of Kuwait.
Yeah, thank you, Ilham. Thank you very much. I see some other comments in the chat, cultural understanding. There are people who are cynical about diplomatic language. What you hear in the media is not what's going on under the table. Okay, thank you for such useful ideas. Okay, but still we can see that the most important words here are communication and understanding. If we're talking about understanding, then definitely we should think about Bloom's taxonomy and 6th level of thinking skills, like lower thinking skills, which is like remembering, understanding, and applying, and higher level thinking skills like analyzing, evaluating, and creating. But this is critical thinking, which is one of the 21st century skills. And we have also communication, which is also considered to be as a 21st century skill, as well as negotiation as well. The ability to communicate effectively in English, because English is a global language, is a crucial skill in the 21st century. It's essential for success in education, work, everyday life. English proficiency allows individuals and everybody to participate in different conversations around the world, develop other 21st century skills. In addition to communication and critical thinking that you have already mentioned on this board, these are collaboration, creativity, media literacy, digital literacy, flexibility, adaptability, and also resilience, which is really important for our today's Ukrainian society. In order to focus and help students, okay, I'm going back to my presentation, if you don't mind. Okay, so we defined where the language is here, so it's an important tool. And in order to focus and help students to develop language skills in today's world, together with my colleagues, by conducting a lot of classes, doing surveys, participating in various conferences, we came to the conclusion that the following approaches in English language teaching have proven to be efficient. And not only in English language teachers, we also propose and suggest these approaches to EMI classes. So when teachers want to deliver their lectures of their specific subjects or disciplines in English, not in the native language. So these approaches are backwards planning, project-based learning, and dogme approach. Backwards planning, it's something when you start from the end, or you're looking backwards. You are thinking first about learning outcomes, and only then, when you analyze, when you define desirable learning outcomes, you will start creating lessons, start creating like lesson plans, module plans, and also the whole course. So that is the backward planning. So first, learning outcomes together with students' needs or gaps in their knowledge of that specific subject, or if we're talking about English language, then some kind of gaps in systems like grammar, vocabulary, or something like that, or language skills. The next approach, which has proven to be efficient, is project-based learning. Is when this is based on community or some kind of volunteering activities, or creating websites about anything about Ukrainian history. So depending on the students' specialty and needs, like about Ukrainian history, if we're talking about history students, or about Ukrainian culture, or they can fight and find fakes in mass media. So showing their digital and media literacies. For example, at the beginning of the large-scale war in February 2022, Wikipedia was full of fake articles about Ukrainian cities, towns, villages, and important places. I mean, English language Wikipedia. Because we know that mass media around the world demonstrated videos and photos from those cities that were bombed in Ukraine, from those towns, from villages and important places. And people around the world, when they watched their local news or global news resources, they started Googling where those cities. So they put the name of the city or the town in Ukraine. And guess what was the first search in the line? It was Wikipedia page about that certain city or that certain village or that certain town. But there was a catch. Russians had already changed those Wikipedia pages just before starting that large-scale invasion with fake information. So they started that those cities were captured and everything, something like that. So they did it like on purpose beforehand. Together with my students, we noticed that and tried to correct the information presented in English Wikipedia. So the first month of war, we were just trying to look for some kind of articles in English about Ukrainian cities or villages and try to somehow verify and correct the information there. This is project-based learning. And if we're talking about dogme approach, this, you can see that the person is in the mountains. I really like metaphors. The person is free in the mountains, is free. What means free? That students do not need any additional textbooks or resources. So this approach has become really like popular in Ukraine because of the war, and there were a lot of people displaced from different from their places, and they couldn't take all the resources, teaching, learning resources with them. That's why this approach is great when you try to focus on the language that emerges naturally in the classroom. So you are trying to identify what gaps the students have and just focus on them, and not just do all the exercises like they are in the textbook. All these three approaches are connected with each other. Let's connect that kind of power of language as soft power with those with all the information that I have provided before. According to Nye, public diplomacy can be considered in three dimensions. These dimensions you can see daily communication, strategic communication, and cross-cultural communication. All three dimensions of public diplomacy or soft power contribute to the creation of an attractive image of the country, which can help accelerate the achievement of planned goals. If we are talking about the first dimension, which is daily communication, you can see that you can the first dimension includes explaining domestic and foreign policy, decisions. After decisions are made, state officials or diplomats, they devote themselves to preparing what to tell to the media. The foreign media are important for the first stage of public diplomacy because in crisis, if we're talking about some kind of conflicts, wars, crisis situations, it is possible to react quickly to the spread of misleading information or false statements. I know that the Embassy of Ukraine in Kuwait has done thousands of interviews starting from the Russian invasion. So I also participated and gave expert interviews what was happening in my country in 2022. And also I participate in different conferences, and you can see like a newspaper article from It's about how Ukrainian teachers of English participated in TESOL International Convention in the United States and shared how they teach English in times of emergency, in challenging times, and during wartime. This aspect includes media coverage of war. And I would like to make two analogies. The first one is look at how media coverage of events like war can shape global opinion. This information was taken from one article. You can see the author at the end of, after the end of the session, I can show you the references list. And probably, yeah, actually, you know that the Gulf War of the early 1990s involved three main actors. It's how how the portrayal strategies worked, media portrayal strategies. Each of these actors, they were trying to influence the hearts and minds of the world's citizens. For example, the Kuwaiti government attempted to portray the image of the good, decent victim. The global media depicted Kuwait as an open, democratic society, unlike other Arab countries. And even women can drive cars. So that was presented during that time. Global media also demonstrated atrocity stories from the war. On the other hand, Saddam Hussein attempted to portray to the world that he was a tough dictator who was not guilty of atrocities by controlling information through censorship. US government adopted a strategy of demonstrating leadership of a world united, that in uniting the world against Iraqi's aggression. If we compare the media coverage of the Gulf War with today Russian-Ukrainian war, the results will be almost similar. So the same, we have Ukraine, which is portrayed as a good and decent victim. We have tough dictator and a lot of atrocities that this country does, and still we have some kind of coalition, United States, United Kingdom, and European Union, who are trying to show leadership in uniting the world to help Ukraine. The second dimension of soft power is strategic communication. Within the framework of these topics, like topics about, actually this photo was taken from the embassy of Ukraine's in Kuwait archive when they organized event, cultural event, and they invited Ukrainian famous musician. So in this strategic communication dimension of soft power, the embassies, I can give the embassies the role, the vital role in promoting the national or country's soft power through different cultural events, symbolic events, other initiatives, like exchange initiatives that demonstrate their country's culture, values, and achievements. Through these interactions, embassies can foster understanding and goodwill towards their home country. And the third dimension is a cross-cultural communication. This is another key important aspect, but this primarily can be easily achieved through the universities level. So I'm the representative of the university or academia, and this kind of public diplomacy dimension can include different kinds of networking events, different kinds of academic exchange programs, trainings, conferences, scholarships, seminars, workshops, which brings people together from different cultures to learn from each other. You can see the photo of me participating at the International Conference on English Language Teaching. So the topic was about bridging ESP and EMI, Ukrainian universities experience. That was about how can we teach English for specific purposes, like English for students of different specialties, and English as a medium of instruction, as I have mentioned before. It's that teachers of their disciplines deliver their lectures in English. So in this case, language skills are essential for effective communication in all of these kinds of programs. And also one important aspect here is resource sharing with different universities, different institutions. They can share different kinds, the access to resources or articles or anything like that. So that I think this, the last dimension, which is cross-cultural communication, is the most powerful, and every university can participate in that. Okay. Oh, I see some kind of a chat. I have never heard Dogme before. I'm an English language teacher. Yeah, I will give you the link of the book. Actually, this is the book written by Teaching Unplugged by Meddings and Scott Thornbury. So definitely, it's a new interesting aspect that you can use. The second, it's like a video. It's an example of project learning. Project-based learning is when students in real time record interviews with teachers, and they are asking anything about their professions, about hobbies, and everything like that. And finally, we are moving to the action plan. And you see again two images. The first image is a lighthouse in some kind of challenging situations. Like you can see the sea, which is some kind worrying. And the second is lighthouse as a peaceful thing. So if we are thinking about that lighthouse as like a language that directs different countries, different nations, cultures, and is a platform that provides opportunities to get to know each other, communicate, share culture, values, collaborate, grow professionally, and that can help create more peaceful and prosperous world. And my question to you before finishing that presentations, what can you do to grow professionally using English as a global language? How can this lighthouse help you? Either the lighthouse in the left picture or the lighthouse in the right. You can also write in the chat or say a few words. Or you can say like, which lighthouse do you like most? The left one or the right one?
Dr. Serhii, are there any grades after this presentation?
Unfortunately, no, we are not doing summative assessment. It's like formative assessment. We are assessing or evaluating ourselves.
Because I'm ready with my answer, and I'm expecting A grade, the highest one. At the very first glance at these two pictures, one of the thoughts which came to my mind is that the peaceful lighthouse refers to Ukrainian diplomacy pre-2022, like pre-war, the peaceful diplomacy, but the left one, where there is a kind of a storm, it's wartime diplomacy, what we are living right now. And language, of course, as you said, and you underscored it several times during your presentation, is a crucial thing, a crucial instrument for you to work, to deliver your message. And I suppose even the fact of our today's conference and presentation is itself a public diplomacy event to, first of all, to bridge ties of friendship between our countries, notwithstanding the fact that there are 5,000 kilometers separating Ukraine and Kuwait, but we can still build strong alliances and friendship and understanding, even using the virtual platforms like Zoom. So I think that just the fact of our meeting today, online meeting, can be a metaphor, which you used in your presentation with the lighthouses.
Thank you very much. That's a real nice comparison. These metaphors with diplomacy nowadays and what it has been before 2022. Yeah, Dr. Salima.
It maybe not related to diplomacy, but I'm someone who loves to travel. So we were always told when we're growing up that, you know, English is the universal language, and wherever you go, you'll find someone to speak English with. So when things are going well on my travels, I find people to speak English. And when things are going wrong, or when I'm lost during my travels, you can never ever find someone who speaks the English language. You sort of have to resort to sign language or something. So when things are good, it's the right side, the calm lighthouse. And when you need help on your travels, it becomes the left side for me, where you can never find the help that you want, and that you're forced to speak a few words of whatever your host country is.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a nice analogy. Yeah, Dr. Iyad.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Serhii, for the nice presentation. I like the way that you portrayed the different wars that happens, you know, in the region here, and also in what happened in Ukraine. But I would like to hear also your insight about what's happening right now. You know, there is also a war between Gaza and Israel, and I want to know what is the reflection that you have, the insight that you have regarding that kind of war. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Should I answer yeah. So actually, I stopped the presentation. Yeah. So thank you everybody. And this is the reference list. I have already mentioned you some kind of books like Meetings and Foreign Breed, Teaching Unplugged. This is about dogme approach. Then you can find project-based learning by the first author, or the last one is Understanding by Design. This is background. This is backward design. And other books are connected with diplomacy, soft power, hard power, public diplomacy. Yeah, and thank you very much for that presentation. And now I would like to answer the question. Yeah, definitely. So that's a really tough issue, because there are countries that fight for their freedom, for their territory, and it's really necessary to ask for help for in other nations that can support it. So definitely, if we are comparing that war in Ukraine and the war in on the territory of Gaza, Israel, and other countries.
May I just add a few words?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Thanks. First of all, thanks, Dr. Iyad, for raising this important question. And as As you underlined, of course, peace doesn't have any boundaries or any citizenship. We all desperately need peace. And in order to achieve this peace in all the parts of our world and all over the continents, because some experts say that the war against Ukraine was just the opening of that Pandora box. And actually what we're witnessing right now in the world could be some kind of sign of that these words are true. So we should be honest with ourselves. If we want peace, when some countries just merely do not want this peace, and they just want to invade, to steal, to do whatever they want, what is the tool which could give us a protection? I suppose it's the international law. So this is what the United Nations were invented for. And hopefully this instrument will be capable enough to really ensure that the peace is there. But if somebody crosses the red light and he or she is not punished for that, so that will be a sign for let's say, for this bully to go further. This is what happened with Russia. For the crime, they weren't punished for the crime that they committed in 2015. So they just took this pause to recharge their batteries and just go further. Same what's going in the Middle East. Ukraine has very firm stance regarding the really humanitarian catastrophe which is going on in Gaza. It's a two-state decision. It's a two-state solution which is supported by the entire international community at the United Nations level. And this is what Ukrainian officials state, like they have been stating, they state and they will state that the two-state solution is the only logical way to end these atrocities and to just have a hope for the continuous peace in the Middle East. So in this case, we Ukrainians and we Kuwaitis are in the same boat because we vote for the same resolutions and we call the international community to take the same steps to end the war and to build some basis or foundation for the continuous peace in the future.
Thank you. I believe what happened in this time of the war, also regarding what's happening, now in Gaza, the difference between what's happening now and in the past is that the social media effect, which was mentioned by Dr. Serhii also. So social media was I believe changing the views that there is in the West, especially you see now what's happening also in the US universities and so on, and it shows also the effect of the widespread of the language, actually, also because most of the content will be using English and so on, and many people that are on the ground, they are posting on social media using English. So this, in my opinion, also made that kind of shift in the mentality of many people who were having just one view of the story, you can say. Thank you.
And I want to thank you, Dr. Iyad, and I want to add about the language. So you said that English language can influence the world, but at the same time, English language can be, with the help of this language, you can spread your national culture, traditions, values, and all these dimensions that I have mentioned.
Can I jump in here, Dr.
Yeah, thank you. Yes.
Я українець, я вмію говорити по-українському, і мені дуже приємно, що ви тут слухаєте вашу дискусію. I just, to my colleagues at AUK, I just told Dr. Petrenko, I've never met him, but I'm a Ukrainian from the United States, was born in America, but grew up speaking Ukrainian at home, and very, very tight with my Ukrainian heritage. But to give it back to bring it back to the presentation today, I just want to make sure I understand exactly, some of the context behind what you're doing here. Seems to me you could take what you've said and talk about the weaponization of the English language to achieve some sort of political kind of objective. You talk about you talk about cross-cultural issues as or cross-cultural communication as the most powerful. I think that, you know, there's some competition with social media and the use of social media because really it's the first strike, so to speak. And that is that, as you mentioned, how the Russians, before their acts, they then began to preface that with changing Wikipedia pages and trying to kind of manufacture a reality that kind of coincided with what they were doing militarily. I thought that was very, very interesting. But getting back to the, so I understand of what you're getting at, and perhaps you're taking a very delicate approach to it. And that is that we're talking about weaponization of a language which everybody speaks. Yes, I see where cross-cultural communication is so important. You know, the Americans, you know, were totally the idea of that Russian imperial approach to history, that was seeded with the people that came from the USSR and kind of went through all the different schools, and they actually kind of taught students and trained future policy wonks about the USSR, but really made the Ukrainian dimension a minor part of it. And then those who went from the United States to Moscow or to Leningrad, those are the only two places they could go for the longest time. So I think that kind of seeded the mindset that people had. And to echo some people that I've met here in Kuwait, you know, before all of this, they kind of looked at Ukrainian, Russian, same thing. They didn't really see a difference. And that's there for a reason. And I just wanted to kind of get a sense of that kind of where you're going, because I see that. I see that as where you can use a language to manufacture reality that kind of coincides with some of your, you know, hard, you know, soft power, hard power objectives. And I'm just curious if, again, because you're being very delicate here, and I'm just curious if that's strategic or tactical on your part. But I'm just curious if you could respond to that.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Roman, with your nice words in Ukrainian as well, and your Ukrainian is great. Yeah, as for my presentation, so I told you about 3 different dimensions, but these dimensions on the levels of daily communication, strategic communication, and cross-cultural communication. But each of these dimension can be it can have both sides. It can have some positive influence and it can have negative influence at the same time. So that's why in this case, I think we the decisions or the conclusions can be done by a separate person. For me, I see a mostly positive thing for spreading that kind of language. But for some people, they can see it like a weaponizing language or something connected to that. So we have to like find the balance or see what prevails, the positive sides of that or the negative sides of that. Or at the same time, if we see that we can do something to change like this kind of balance, that the positive sides will prevail. So we can do every possible ways for that. So I think for me, it's the best approach and the best thing that we can do. And I mentioned that cross-cultural communication, which is one of the most important things that can at the same time help personally the student, the teacher to grow professionally with the help of that language. And at the same time, it can spread the values of the country that this student or this teacher is from. So probably that is my point of view. Yeah, and also I see some question in the chat, Mr. Malik, and there is like, I've been to a conference at university in 2016. I don't remember I had an issue with language in Kiev. Is there an estimate of English language speakers in Ukraine generally? Actually, this is very difficult to count, but still I see that the level of English or the percentage or the amount of people who can speak English is increasing every year. And especially with that kind of Russian invasion, large-scale Russian invasion, a lot of people just try to learn the English language and forget, for example, Russian language, because you know that Ukraine is a bilingual country, and like the majority of the population, they spoke two languages, English and Ukrainian and Russian. But this kind of war, they shifted the idea of or the perception of that Russian language as the language of invaders. And that's why people nowadays prefer learning more English one, and definitely you can see a lot of English-speaking people in Ukraine. And you see Kiev, that like spelling is from Russian transliteration, and we prefer, or it is correct to use Ukrainian spelling transliteration. I have just written like Kyiv, it's K-Y-I-V. So that is, yeah, and I see that Dr. Olga Serhii has already made this. Okay, Salima.
Dr. Petrenko, thank you for your presentation. As we sort of near the end, I would like to ask a question. We all know that English is the lingua franca, but at the same time, we're seeing a shift in the axis of power today. So if you were to recommend to students a language to invest in for the future, what would you say? I mean, a lot of people already speak English or are learning English. Or not even students, if I was to invest time and money in learning another language, given the context of the world we live in today, what would you recommend?
Actually, I cannot recommend like this specific language, but the only suggestion that I can do is like what kind of countries you would like to travel, or you would like to go and live for some period of time, or what kind of culture resembles your culture, or something like that. So you can start with that. For example, I like Spanish or Spain, then definitely why not try and learn Spanish language, or German, or Arabic, or any other. So it depends personally.
Yes, I guess I would have to polish up on my Arabic then. Does anyone have any last questions for Dr. Petrenko or comments?
Yeah, if I may jump in.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for hosting us and for making this presentation happen. We really worked hard to set it up, to make it happen, and finally we're engaged in such a prolific discussion. So thank you very, very much. And a low bow to Dr. Serhii for raising such an important subject as public diplomacy. And I was truly excited when I heard notions like public diplomacy, hard power, soft power, sticky power. As a person who devoted a PhD thesis to the role of public diplomacy in the development of bilateral relations of Ukraine with Qatar, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates, I'm really, really amazed with the level of interest to this notion, because, you know, in the theoretical academic circles, this notion is being widely discussed and researched, but when it comes to the practical realm, when we talk about public diplomacy of Ukraine globally, especially in the Arab world, let's say global South states, we have lack of theoretical materials like articles, books, like research chapters or even interviews to understand what are the nuances, what are the peculiarities of work in this part of the world. And when it comes to the practical side, when, for example, me as a diplomat being posted here in Kuwait, okay, go ahead, you have 5 years. What is your plan for the public diplomacy? Okay, first I have to make my research, to do my homework, to understand what level of relations do we enjoy now? What is our vision where we would like to come? What problems or like specific issues that we should take into account, and then I can build my plan. If I do not possess any resources, materials, or some just the database to make my homework, to do my homework, so I should just like a blind person. You try this, you try that. This works, this doesn't work. So I'm really thankful to Dr. Serhii who devoted his presentation to the public diplomacy issue, especially in regards of Ukraine's relations with the Arab world, in particular with Kuwait, because the number of these initiatives, like conferences, books, or like thesis, it indicates the level of interest in the development of bilateral relations and understanding between our countries and our nations. So from the state level to the grassroots level to the public diplomacy. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Olha. This is our last presentation for the spring semester. I'd like to thank all of you for being part of this occasion, and also I would like to thank members of the audience who have supported us throughout the academic year. I hope to see everyone again next fall. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you.